Have you ever heard the saying, your greatest curse could become your greatest blessing? Well, for one man, this wasn't just a saying, it was his life story. This is the incredible tale of Ludger Silberus, the man who survived the end of the world. Our story begins in the early 1900s on the vibrant Caribbean island of Martinique, a French colony known as the Paris of the Caribbean. At its heart was the bustling port city of St. Pierre, nestled beneath the majestic, yet dormant, volcano, Mount Pelée. Ludger Silberus, a common laborer of Afro-Caribbean descent, lived and worked here. By all accounts, he was a strong, perhaps a bit rowdy, man known for getting into the occasional scuffle. Life in St. Pierre was a mix of hard work, tropical heat, and the lively rhythm of island life. In early May 1902, Mount Pelée began to stir. It sent plumes of ash into the sky and tremors through the ground. Strange phenomena occurred. Insects and snakes swarmed the city, fleeing the mountain slopes. The air grew thick with the smell of sulfur. Despite these ominous signs, the colonial governor, wanting to ensure a high turnout for an upcoming election, downplayed the danger and urged the city's 30,000 residents to remain calm. Life, he insisted, should go on as normal. For Ludger Silberus, life took a sharp turn on the night of May 7th. After a day of hard labor, he went into town for a drink. Accounts differ, but the most common story is that he got into a bar fight, possibly over a woman or just due to a drunken argument. He was arrested for assault and thrown into a jail cell. But this wasn't just any cell. It was a single-person, windowless, bomb-proof dungeon, partially built into the ground with thick stone walls. It was designed to be escape-proof and to withstand riots. Its only opening was a small, narrow slit in the door. As the heavy door slammed shut, Ludger was plunged into near-total darkness, unaware that this tiny, miserable cell was about to become his salvation. The next morning, May 8th, was Ascension Day. As the church bells of St. Pierre began to ring at 7:52 a.m., Mount Pelée exploded. It wasn't a typical lava flow. The volcano unleashed a pyroclastic flow of superheated cloud of gas, ash, and rock, traveling at over 100 miles per hour, with temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius or 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. This deadly wave descended upon St. Pierre in less than a minute. In a flash, the Paris of the Caribbean was incinerated. Buildings were flattened. People were vaporized instantly. The entire city of nearly 30,000 souls was wiped off the map. Ships in the harbor caught fire and sank. It was an apocalyptic event, one of the deadliest volcanic eruptions in recorded history. The city was a smoldering ruin, a silent testament to nature's terrifying power. Deep within the city's smoldering heart, in his stone tomb, Ludger Silberus experienced hell on earth. He described a sudden, intense heat that felt like he was being cooked alive. Superheated ash and gas shot through the tiny slit in his cell door, burning him severely. The air became scorching hot, searing his lungs with every breath. He screamed in agony, trying to escape the unbearable heat, but there was nowhere to go. For what felt like an eternity, he fought to survive, pouring his own urine on his clothes to stuff into the door slit, a desperate attempt to keep the deadly heat out. He was horribly burned, but he was alive, for long days, Ludger remained trapped in his oven-like cell, surrounded by the silence of a dead city. He suffered from excruciating burns, thirst, and the terror of being buried alive. He had no idea what had happened, only that some unimaginable catastrophe had occurred. He yelled for help until his voice was raw, his cries echoing in the ruins. Finally, a rescue team, sifting through the devastation and assuming there were no survivors, heard his faint moans. They were stunned. Following the sound, they dug through the rubble of the prison and found Ludger. He was severely burned, dehydrated, and barely conscious, but miraculously, he was alive. He was one of only 2, or possibly 3, confirmed survivors within the city itself. One other, a shoemaker named Leon Leandra, was found on the edge of the city with severe burns. The third, a young girl named Havivra Diafrel, supposedly escaped by boat, but her story is less verified. Ludger, however, was the only one to survive at the very epicenter of the destruction. His survival was a scientific marvel. The thick, poorly ventilated stone walls of his cell had insulated him from the blast, and the initial wave of heat, being partially underground, had protected him further. The very thing that was meant to be his punishment, his solitary confinement, had become his shield. The prison that had taken his freedom had saved his life. After recovering from his horrific injuries burns that would leave him scarred for life, a local commission investigated the disaster. They pardoned Ludger for his crimes, realizing his story was too extraordinary to ignore. But his journey was far from over. News of the man who lived through doomsday spread like wildfire. This is where his life took another unbelievable turn. He was discovered by the world-famous Barnum and Bailey Circus. Recognizing the incredible power of his story, they hired him. Ludger Silberus, the humble laborer from Martinique, became an international sensation. He was billed as the most marvelous man in the world and the prisoner of St. Pierre. He toured the United States with the circus, becoming one of its biggest stars and, notably, the first black man to be a headliner for Barnum and Bailey. A replica of his prison cell was built as part of the sideshow. Dressed in his old prison rags, Ludger would sit in the replica cell, showing audiences his scars and recounting his terrifying experience. He would tell them about the heat, the darkness, the screams that were silenced in an instant, and his own miraculous survival. People flocked to see him, to hear his story, and to look into the eyes of a man who had stared death in the face and lived to tell the tale. For years, he traveled across America, sharing his story with millions. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a living legend, a symbol of resilience in the face of unimaginable destruction. He embodied the fragility of life and the sheer, unpredictable power of fate. His imprisonment, once a mark of shame, had become his claim to fame, transforming a common man into an extraordinary figure. After his career with the circus, Ludger's later life is less documented. He reportedly returned to Martinique for a time before fading from the public eye. He passed away in 1929, but his legacy endures. Today, the ruins of St. Pierre and his prison cell can still be visited. They serve as a haunting memorial to the thousands who perished and a powerful reminder of the incredible story of the man who survived because he was locked away. Ludger Silberus's life is a testament to the idea that our paths are unpredictable. A night of drinking, a fight, a jail cell, these small, seemingly insignificant events conspired to place him in the one spot on the entire island where survival was possible. It's a story of chance, fate, and the unbelievable strength of the human spirit. The prisoner of St. Pierre didn't just survive the end of his world. He found a new one on the other side. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from history that you won't believe are true. Let us know in the comments what you think about Ludger's story. We'll see you in the next video.